First Brown for Kenpo Karate for Christ is the last level prior to black belt. And before you begin your journey in learning all the material that's in this level, the first step you might want to take is to go into the kids section and look at the techniques and the forms for the requirements for the kids program as well, because one of the requirements for this First Brown level is to learn all of that. I expect at a First Brown level that I should be able to hand the class over for one of the kids' classes, be able to hand that over to a First Brown and then be able to run it without any trouble or without needing a whole lot of extra attention or supervision. So the first part of our First Brown material is all the kids' material. So what you want to focus on as you're learning the kids' material is to go back and look first at the whole kids' material is designed anyway, that if you really focus on the Advanced Form 1 and the Advanced Form 2 and the Escape set, you will have within just those two forms in that set all the material that's included for the kids' program. Then of course the striking set and the kicking set are the class drills. So you learn how those are break down and use about 2 of them each class, and then you're equipped to run one of the kids' programs. So learn those. Be sure you know those two forms: Advanced Form 1, Advanced Form 2, and the Escape set. That will give you all of the one-step techniques right there in their complete form, and then you just have to understand where it breaks, how whipping back fist, where at each level it stops with the yellow stripe, and then where it moves on to purple and so forth and so on as it adds each step, what stage is that at. So between those two forms and the set, really learning those is enough to, and honestly that's all I look at for the test itself. I'm not going to go through and look at what how the technique breaks down for each level. There's enough material anyway to cover on top of that, so really what my focus will be testing-wise is to see do you know all the parts to Advanced Form 1? Can you do Advanced Form 1? Could you teach Advanced Form 1? Same with Advanced Form 2 and the Escape set, and that leaves me pretty confident that somebody could handle one of the kids' classes if something happened or someone walked in and I needed to talk to a new potential client, or just the opportunity for me to go on vacation, if I got sick, that things could still happen here in the school, and it's set up that way to help reproduce it too. Any one of these First Browns, if it's a young student when they're ready to head off to college, they'll have this as something that they can help maybe make some money with. They can offer a class wherever it is that they go, and offer a program there in their school, or whatever college that they're at, but it'll also allow the community that way for parents to bring their kids, and for you to begin starting to learn the process of leadership and being a role model to young people. I want to see that spread. So here's the first place where we're going to stop, and it's also a precursor to the first degree black belt, where we're going to go back and look at the yellow, the orange, and the purple belt, and we're going to do extensions in all of those. So that's a much bigger bite to take. So First Brown is an appropriate place for us to stop and say, okay, you've got your whole belt of material just like you've done every other level, and it's more complicated, it's a new challenge, but then on top of that, you have a new responsibility, and that responsibility is to learn the entire kids program. Well, then in First Black, that new responsibility will be you're going to go all the way back, and you should be actively able to teach the adult classes, yellow, orange, and purple belt, because you're constantly going over those techniques again, and you're studying them with the extensions attached too. So you're becoming even more familiar with that material. So that's the kind of the introduction to what First Brown is. You're going to see in this level some of the knife attacks. We introduced the knife attack at the end of Second Brown. But the first technique that we're going to have in our First Brown is for a grab. And this one is obscure claws. This is a lot like obscure sword that we did in second brown. Obscure sword, we pin. They're kind of behind you not directly behind, because they're grabbing with their left hand to your right shoulder. So they're slightly offset here to the side. And when we did obscure sword, we pinned and we actually jerked them forward, pulled them forward, and then when they pulled back, that's when the technique started. In this case, they just grab and right away they pull back. So we're going to pin and step right back right away. And here's our claw here, a heel palm hit to the face, and then we're going to wrap the arm, coming around and hooking at the elbow. What we call an arm scoop. The elbow should bend as you lock that up, and you're catching their wrist in your armpit here and wrenching their elbow. And to add to that wrench, we're also going to step forward as you do that. So that's the first step of that. Obscure claw, they grab, you pin, step back, you heel palm through the face, step forward as you wrench their elbow. Step 2, we're going to step forward and unwind, releasing that arm. So you've wrenched it, kind of like they're losing that arm wrestling match. Then we're going to unwind, releasing it. And I'm going to come back and I'm hitting behind the head and the forehead here at the same time. Just like we did with striking serpent's head, but now it's the other hand. So when we did striking serpent's head, you were pinning here with the right hand, their forehead, and hitting with the left. Now we're going to, with the left hand on the forehead, and the right hand comes around. So we got the opposite side of that concussive strike that's hitting above the eye and right behind the ear at the same time. So that way of kind of giving that instant reboot. When you hit it, the brain gets shocked, and for a second they kind of pass out. It's a standing knockout. They may not fall to the floor. But we saw that all the way back in Orange Belt. Now we're repeating that idea again here as we come to the more advanced stages. So, and this will show up in the extensions too. You'll see this idea show up. So we pin, we're heel palm through the face, we wrench the arm as you step forward, unwind, releasing that arm. We're hitting behind the head with the right hand and in front of the eye, right above the eye, with the left hitting front to back. Now I'm going to pull that hand through, and the last hit we're using a middle knuckle, striking at a downward angle into their sternum, right at the center of the chest, hitting down at a 45 degrees toward the floor with like this corkscrew punching action, but drilling straight into them. Boom, as it goes down. From there, full cover out towards 12 o'clock. That is obscure claws. So again, all the parts. They grab, you pin, step back and we heel palm, claw through the face, wrench the arm, come through, we unwind, hitting behind the head and above the eye, pulling through, we hit down to the sternum, 45 degrees, and then full cover out to 12 o'clock. One more time, obscure claws.